So here we are for joy workout number 43, and I think this might be the most Cosmo Vogue we've ever gotten here. So today is a beauty tip, and the hint that I have for you is that anti-shaming is anti-aging. So yesterday, one of my friends complimented me about she said that I'm photogenic, that on all my videos I look really pretty. And I was like, oh, thank you. I said, I wasn't always photogenic. Like, I'm aware that I'm a photogenic at this point. And she was like, no way. And I was like, yeah, it's actually a choice. And she's like, what are you talking about? And so I grew up in Miami, Florida, where if you're like larger than a size 6, people like look at you shamefully, especially if you go to the beach. But let's see, I was like skinny as a stick until I was like 16, and then I got some don't get fat messages from parents and others, and they got to me. Those messages like got to me. They made me vulnerable, really, really, really vulnerable. And I started talking badly to myself, about my body. And I went on about, I think I counted one time, there were like 19, 20, probably more than 20 diets between the ages of 16 and 19. Now, I know this isn't about photogenic, it's about weight, but I'm going to come around to that. The self-consciousness I had about my weight affected everything, affected how I felt about myself, how I looked. And at the time I had like every kind of hair product, and knew how to straighten hair, curl hair, blah 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 blah. I was told my lips were too fat and that my eyebrows were too fat, and I remember like, and these were like well-meaning people, like people who were like, like, me and my aunties would like hang out and blow dry each other's hair and stuff like that. And they'd be like, oh, let's just like tweeze your eyebrows a little bit. I'm like, don't touch my eyebrows. So I would tweeze over here. I let them do that, but they weren't allowed to tweeze here, which I was very glad about. So I'm afraid you're going to laugh at me here, and I'm being vulnerable right now. But I read somewhere in a magazine, probably, it was Marilyn Monroe's tip that changed my photogenicness. And I'm going to wrap this around. I want you to know before I say it, I'm going to wrap this around to the 12 practices, specifically practice number 4, which is where we handle shame, abandonment, and betrayal, which are cultural wounds, and where we talk about healing fields. I want to talk about this in the context of intentional vulnerability and how the 12 practices play into that. It's really important. Okay, so Marilyn Monroe, when she was asked about her beauty and stuff, and she said, I make love to the camera. And I don't know, I was a teenager. I didn't know anything about making love, but I knew about flirting, right? So I was like, oh, I'm going to try that. So I would look at the camera, like, like or whatever, do things like that. And I would say that directly after that, I started looking better in my photographs. I actually looked better. And people started complimenting me like, oh, you're so pretty, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God, I thought I was ugly. Like really. But yesterday it came into a different context, and I understand it better now, what that meant to make love to the camera. I want you to think about how you feel when a camera is put on you. And if your immediate reaction, which mine used to be, was to shy away. In fact, I had one family member who, as soon as my mother would take out her camera, she would go hide behind everybody, and you'd only see her face because she was so embarrassed about her own body image. And so we had lots of conversations about, diets and weight and mixed messages. Don't be too skinny, because then a guy can't even, they won't have anything to hold you. Be too skinny. Don't be too fat. Like, there was no way to win. So what I want you to think about is, when you're in front of a camera, do you do this? Do you like internally, like, even if you're like this, is there a part in you that's like, oh my God, I'm so ugly. Oh my God, or whatever. It might not even be like a voice. It could just be like a feeling. And with that, I want you to think about the emotional scale that we have. And you can use this scale for any aspect of your life. So let's say you generally feel good about yourself, but when you think about how you look in front of a camera, you go right down to shame or something like that. You can use this to go, what do I want to, what do I feel, and what do I want to feel when I'm in front of a camera? Well, when I'm in front of a camera, I want to feel good. And I did a lot of professional speaking, a lot, to where, like, I learned how to put like face makeup on and stuff like that. And I don't like that, because it doesn't let my skin breathe, but I know how to use it if I need it. What I realized was that the opposite of shame, the healing field for shame, is honor, right? And so making love to the camera became a practice of letting the love shine through. And without realizing it, I was trading shame for love. I was like, well, if I'm making love to the camera, I can't be like shaming myself at the same time. I wasn't thinking that. But I was stopping the shame thoughts because I was focused on something else. And I want to make this easy for you to grasp if that's like still a little far away. So I want you to think about something that you love, unquestionably. So it could be like, I know my friend Linda unquestionably loves the flowers in her garden, loves the flowers in her garden, unquestionably, undoubtedly, like there's no. So my suggestion would be, next time you're in front of the camera, if I were to say to her, I would say, next time you're in front of the camera, imagine that you're looking at some of the flowers in your garden. Like, you have an imagination, you can play pretend. And if you love your flowers that much, well, who are you to not love you that much? And so regardless of whatever voices of shame or whatever have come your way, you're allowed to say, I don't think so. Oh, that's my other book. I can't touch it right now. It's not in front of me, but that's where you go. No, I don't think so. I'm a flower too. And it could be a mantra like that. I'm a flower too. I'm a flower too. Aren't we all flowers? And I've noticed that among my friends, that oftentimes it's so much easier to see the flower, the magnificence, the love in each other more than we see it in ourselves. Especially when it comes to just simply our radiance and magnificence. It's like, it's so obvious, it seems, when we're seeing it in someone that we love. And so you can use the camera as a measuring stick to ask yourself, how much am I experiencing shame right now? How much am I experiencing honor right now? So it took me a while from like doing these videos. I noticed a lot of shame messages were coming up, because I was like, oh, and my hair and blah, 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 blah. And this isn't right. And that's not right. And I was like so focused on, like, because I'm having to stare at myself the whole time. It's weird. So the other piece of this that I want you to get is something that one of our members, Michele, said this yesterday, and it was really beautiful. It was, she said that the practices are designed not just to do by yourself, but to do with others, to do them with others. And she said that the practice gave her an experience of intentional vulnerability with others. So when you answer the questions in here and you're doing it in a place where other people around are kind of valuing the same things that you do, which is kindness and honor, commitment, and loyalty, and you're doing your best to live in that way, then you practice intentional vulnerability within that sphere, because it's within relationships that we learn to shame ourselves. So it's in relationships that we learn to heal ourselves. We can't just do the healing all by ourselves in a vacuum. And so intentional vulnerability gets you out of your shell and helps you start gaining evidence that you can be safe in the world, in relationships that practice honor, commitment, and loyalty, that build those bridges. Um, and I'll, I'll I'll end with this one note. Another piece of a beautiful conversation yesterday was so much of what we do here at Joy Based Living is about strengthening bonds with ourselves and with others. And I compared it yesterday to, you know how if you're like with a friend and they're gossiping about another friend and it's nasty, it's negative, they're doing it for their own puffing upness. Um, there's something in you that breaks. There's something in you that weakens. That, like, if you were like a rope made of many strands, like some of the strands get weaker or they break. Like, you feel something breaking in you when you hear nasty gossip from someone in your community about someone in the community. I know that feeling. It's horrible. And comparing to that, the opposite of that is when we see other people within our community and somebody talks about how someone else was there for them, or how someone else lifted them, or how someone else cared about them, or how someone else gifted them. Um, that strengthens the rope, that fortifies the rope, that makes it stronger. And that rope, those ropes of bonds between us, they actually free us to be more fully expressed in the world. So the the binds of shame are very different than the bonds of kindness and love. And the one Hafez quote that I always repeat here is, there is a bridge between you and everything, and that is love. It's between you and how you talk to yourself. It's between you and the camera. It's between you and your body. It's between you and people in your world. And you can't control other people, but you can focus on the bonds of love and let them grow stronger. And that's how we become um, a beautiful community. That's how we grow together. So thank you for growing here together with me. And I look forward to seeing you at the next Joy workout. Cheers to your beauty.